Hi and welcome to the Saudi Football Fanatics podcast channel. We are with the full team here. Hi guys.
Hi.
Hello.
So we had a busy week. I think it's obvious that what we should start with, but let me just be polite and ask first, how are you guys?
Not so good.
That's the same for me. Mainly based on Nassr's performance again.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, but I think we should take some positives because it was a heroic performance, isn't it?
If you look at that way, it was. I mean, Ronaldo promised that it will be a remontada, so we will reduce the difference and ultimately win the match. And this both happened, but unfortunately not. It was not enough. Obviously, Ronaldo probably didn't thought that the remontada will need to start from 0-3 instead of 0-1, but Al-Nassr did the impossible after 0-3 and equalized, scoring 3 goals. We will discuss about that later. So all of our hopes went up. It was the perfect match, the one where the stadium and the players connected, and I also felt it, the atmosphere before the television, sitting before the television. So I was very hyped up, which was only good for being even more disappointed after the end.
Yeah, and maybe we should start from the beginning. So the first match was 1-0 for Al-Ain, and it started with 2 quick Al-Ain goals again from two counterattacks. What was the problem here, Andris? Where was the fault in the game of Al-Nassr's?
Again, just the same that we discussed in the previous episode. So dominating the match, concentrating on ball possession, concentrating on trying to find the empty slots in the opponent's defense, and in the meanwhile, totally forgetting about the organized structure, what would need to be in the defense. So again, defensive problems have not been solved. We can now state that, and both of these quick goals basically were resulted from counterattacks, quick counterattacks where our defenders, either one of the defenders were missing or they were not well organized, were very far from each other, couldn't help each other, especially the first goal when Rahimi just could run through the left side of the pitch and then pass the ball between the legs of Najar. And afterwards, similar ones, so they just got the ball too easily. They went through our midfield, which was basically non-existing at that time, and make a shot to the near post, which was a precise shot as well. So again, forget about everything. The Alliance advantage was only 1 goal. We should have not risked that much, but the play was pretty good, and I was very happy with Al-Nassr, how they started the play. But then these 2 quick goals again reminded me of the deficiencies and the problems which Al-Nassr faces this season. But obviously, as a last sentence, it would be fair to me also that I would need to praise the opponent's striker Rahimi, who clinically finished both of these attacks. We can argue that the second was also a mistake from Najar, but still, the ball went to a very good place.
Yeah,
so
just one question or one thought, because based on your thoughts, and I understand that the only problem was not that Laporte was missing, but the whole defensive system and the res defense itself of Al-Nassr. And it's not just a new problem and not just against Al-Ain, but as you mentioned, against all the other teams. So if we just check the bigger picture and not just the Champions League, in the last 2 matches in the RSL, Nassr conceded 7 times.
Yes.
against Arad and Hazem, which are one of the worst teams in the league, but we will talk about them later. So how is that even possible in case of a team like Al-Nassr, whose goal is to win everything in Asia and in the kingdom? Would it be the fault of the coach or the transfers, or where should we search for the problem itself, or the core of the problem?
I would say it's pretty early to give a well-founded answer for that one, because I would say that, yeah, to start with Laporte. So it was not about Laporte missing. Obviously, it was a huge blow that he got a red card, and I still believe that if Laporte had played, then we would have won this match with more goals, and ultimately would have qualified to the Western finals of the AFC Asian Champions League. But at the end of the day, it's all what you said was true. So even if when Laporte played, we conceded a lot of goals, and that obviously there are problems with the structure here. Yeah, the current central defenders, Fatil and Ambri, it was not their best performance. We can say that. But even if we exchanged one of them with Laporte, simply there were two huge gaps, or even they were not organized in a perfect line whenever we were doing an offside trap, for example, something like that, or one of the defensive players were just missing from the line. So both of them are correct from that terms, and I believe that Laporte is, although obviously very good player, but in itself he wouldn't be an answer to this. So yes, I would rather say that probably there are problems with the team structure, and for the reason for that is also obviously starts with the coach. So ultimately the responsibility is with the coach, but we shouldn't forget that, okay, it's still only 6 or 7 months that these players are playing together. So I would say that if by the mid of next season these problems are still imminent, then we should think about the coach's responsibility. Until then, this is something for which we would need to find a temporary solution, even if we lose on ball possession or control, or change a bit of the tactics. But we have to find something, because it is not normal that we concede 3 or 4 goals from everyone basically nowadays.
Yeah, I would say you need to hurry with that, because, as you said, I don't think you have time until the middle of the next season, because conceding 3 to 4 goals is a little bit too much. And know that Talisca is also off injured. You cannot simply count on the mere fact that Nassr will score more goals, which obviously was the case many times this season. But back to the Champions League game, I think it's fair to say just one sentence that Alain's tactic was working well, because as I understand and as I saw, they played for counter-attacks and they executed it very well by scoring 2 quick goals in the first half. Not so quick goals, but they went up front. But also, not only Laporte was missing, I think it's fair to say that Talisca was missing too, who recently scored a hat-trick. So his absence was a big blow for Nassr. So not only Laporte, but also Talisca. And if we talked about Laporte's absence, I think it's fair to say that it probably would have been a different match if Talisca was available.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jula, but a little bit disagree with Andris, because we mentioned here Talisca's and Laporte's absence, but not only theirs, but mainly, I think, but it may be a little bit harsh, but the absence of proper domestic players. Because last time we spoke about, for example, Al-Hilal and their Saudi players, that these are the best ones mainly. And if we check the transfers of Ittihad or Akli in the last transfer window, they try to find some quality players from the kingdom. In case of Al-Nassr, when the time comes, so for example in the Champions League, when you need to have a lot of domestic players on the pitch and you don't have the quality domestic players, then I think this will be the result. So, and that's where
I think
I arrived the
that's a
points.
little bit too harsh in my opinion, because basically just don't forget that this match could have gone either way. So Al-Nassr had all the chances to win the game and put it into bed, and so I don't think that it would be fair to say that they don't have the quality. They had the quality, but the defensive errors costed them harshly. Just my opinion.
That's what I said. You saw the quality, for example, on the goal line or in the defense, because I did not. And that's where I disagree with Andris when he said that the problems start at the coach. That I think this is not true, because they are basically were starting at the build-up of the squad itself in the summer. So they try to buy a lot of quality international players to have a great team for the league, but maybe, just maybe, they didn't think through that for the Champions League they not just need quality international players, but proper domestic players as well. And for that to have both of them, maybe they need another season, as just Andris mentioned, to build up a proper team for the league and for the Champions League as well, just like Hilal did in the recent years.
Sorry, but I just need to quickly disagree, because what we saw were basic defensive errors. So that should be corrected in the training ground, and it's not about players. If you consider that Laporte was part of this team, had been part of this team, conceding so many goals, he's a great player. I think we all can agree on that. But basic defensive mistakes are made. That should be sorted out on the training pitch, and it's not a quality issue. I think it's an organization, a tactical issue which should be dealt with. But it's just my point. Sorry,
yeah,
Andris.
But obviously, I mean, your strategic options are quite limited if you don't have the quality in players. But I would also like to tell and defend my standpoint, because I think if you know that you don't have the quality in terms of certain positions on the pitch, then you just simply cannot do that playing style that Al-Nassr is playing at the moment, because they try to dominate, they try to control the ball, and in the meanwhile they try to use both of the wings on both of the sides of the pitch for example, for Teles and Lajami to run forward, and in all the beauty that they can sometimes produce, I always have the feeling that, okay, if we lost the ball at this point, then the opponent will not stop until the goal line. That's for sure, because you have to have proper support from behind. And Brozovic was doing, for example, very well, I believe, in yesterday's match, but he alone is simply not enough on that part. And I don't want to blame our defensive players, because it is what it is, and they did everything what they could. For example, they run a lot, they tried everything, but it's just not working. It's too risky, and the result of 0-1 was not enough reason for me to do that kind of play.
Roshan!
Saudi League.
Yeah, basically we can say that Al-Ain had better tactics for the first half, but luckily Nassr scored one just in time through Gareb at the end of the first half, and one of the best offensive performances continued after that. I think we can say that. So it was a heroic display, and I don't think it's an exaggeration. It was really a heroic display from Al-Nassr.
It was a goal that went in at a very good time and give back the hope. Also, as you mentioned, that the second goal of Alain was somewhat the mistake of Najar because it go to the near post. We have to mention that the opponent's goalkeeper was not living his best day either, because this goal, when he just seemed, I haven't seen ever something like that, honestly, that he just followed Mane basically out of the penalty area and running behind him, and then Mane just passed it to Gary, and Gary pushed the ball into the empty net. So
basically that goal reminds me of the early versions of the FIFA game.
Yes,
when goalkeepers are making some interesting rushes from the goal.
Yes. So yeah, what I wanted to say, that this game, this goal went in the perfect time basically, and we still had the chance, and then another 2 goals followed, which saved the day, or we thought at that time that they saved the day.
And what happened at the extra time? And I mainly think about the missed chances, the red card, and the problem in the position of the goalkeeper, because that move reminded me of Origi's goal against Everton. I don't know whether you remember. It was quite similar to that. But let's start at the beginning of the extra time. And also, we cannot avoid to speak a little bit about Ronaldo here. Okay, he scored a goal from penalty. That's another question, whether that was a penalty or not, or just an easy penalty. What about his missing chances?
Yeah, it was not his best football match, that we must say. I mean, he missed 2 great chances, which would have been easily 2 goals in his prime, especially the first one, when he should have just passed the ball into the net. It's a rare occasion that we see something like that from Ronaldo. On the other hand, I want to defend him because at some point in the second half, he realized that the game doesn't go that well and he doesn't receive enough balls. And in a certain period of the time, he had basically did 3 or 4 tackles and interceptions quite close to each other. So what we have to tell as a second statement, because the first statement is that it wasn't his best match. Yeah, it was pretty. It is not so good performance from his side. But on the other hand, something is true, that he again did everything. He put everything out on the table. He got very tired. He really wanted this win, and his mentality enforced the team seemingly very much, and his presence there. So yeah, for me, it's a 2-sided performance. He really behaved, I believe, as a leader and as it is expected. On the other side, if he would have scored from these easy chances, then there would not have been a penalty shootout.
And on the other hand, just to add to that, you have to have the leadership and character to stand up to that late penalty in the extra time, when he probably knew, and everyone knew in the stadium, that could be the last chance for Al-Nassr to progress. If he misses the penalty, it's probably game over. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, totally, and it's very interesting for me just as a feeling, as a personal feeling, that when Ronaldo stands behind the ball in the last minutes for a penalty, honestly, I was not even annoyed or something like that. I did not feel the pressure, because I just knew that, okay, it's an easy goal because Ronaldo never misses something like that, and that's true. So he capitalized on that chance.
And again, just the heroism of the Nassr players, just to stand up from 1 goal behind in extra time, 1 man down, because there was the red card. I think it was in the end of the first half of the extra time, if I'm not mistaken. And then still pushing on and getting that penalty in the end of the second half and stepping up, scoring it. I think it just really sums up that Al-Nassr had a very good performance in terms of the quality of players, characters, and fighting spirit. And honestly, and I think when we talked about this as the match progressed, when it went up to penalty shootout, to the penalties, I had the feeling that Al-Nassr is going through, simply because they had to fight back so many times during these matches. I think it's simply just incredible that they were 3 goals down at some point and had almost less than a half, less than, let's say, 50 minutes to get back into the game. But they got back into the game. There was the extra time. They again fell behind and even fell behind to 10 men and got back into the game. So what I want to say here is that the Al-Ain players could have some disbelief after all, because they put in some good performances. Their counterattacks were working well. But in the end, Al-Nassr dominated most of the match and fought back every time. So here they are. We have penalties, and Al-Nassr just seems to be unstoppable. So what I thought here is that Al-Nassr will capitalize on this mental situation. As I've heard several coaches talking about it, that if you go to a penalty shutout and you were the underdog and you somehow got back into the game, then you have the mental advantage. So I don't know whether you got me, but this is what I believed, that Al-Nassr has all the mental advantage over Al-Ain. But really, what happened in the penalty shootout, it's one of the worst penalty shootout I've seen.
And look at the players who missed. So that's the interesting. That basically, with the exception of the king of football, everyone missed. Tejes, Brozovic, Dotavio also missed. And 2 of them didn't even find the goal. So yeah.
But what could have happened? So basically, the mental advantage just thrown out of the window, and the players were so tired that they couldn't even focus. Because I can understand this as well after 120 minutes of constantly fighting for your life, because that's what happened.
Yeah, that's mental advantage is one point, and the other one that these 3 are top players, all of them. So they played for Manchester United or like Internazionale, and all of them should have scored in the penalty shootout, but not even found the goal itself. So I don't really understand. And one question from my side would be that why wasn't the king of football started the whole penalty shootout as a leader?
He generally likes to take on the last penalty, or the winning penalty, the 5th or the 4th, so the most risky ones. And I am sure that was the plan now as well, that he will get the 5th. But afterwards, as the first 2 penalties were missed, I believe he just asked for shooting earlier than it was originally planned, and then took the free. So I don't have an answer for that. I don't know whether it's his or the coach's decision, but if you look at his roles in the penalty shootout during his career, he almost every time took to the last chances the most risky one.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think we have confirmed lineups for the other Champions League game tonight, because at the time of our recording, we now know the lineups for Ittihad and versus Al-Hilal, which will start within an hour. I cannot see Benzema there, of course, in Ittihad.
No, he's not there.
Yeah, but on the other hand, there is Mitrovic again in Al-Hilal. I don't know. Well, what are your guesses for today's game? Because the first one was won by Al-Hilal. It was quite a simple match, 2-0. Is there any chance that Ittihad can go through?
That's a risky request from us, as we didn't when probably we are not going down as the best predictors full time in this episode of the podcast, and this have the special situation now that at the time when we will upload this podcast, we will already know the result, and that's probably what stupid thing have left our mouths. So Julia,
Yeah, okay,
you can start.
Yeah, okay, then Julia, start, please.
Basically, knowing that Kante got a red card in the last match and there is no Benzema, I'm sorry to Al-Ittihad fans, but I really can't see them going through this. So I think Al-Hilal is going through easily.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
my guess is that this would be a kind of easy draw. I think Hilal will start with a goal, 1-0, and then Ittihad will find a goal somewhere in the second half, and it will result as a 1-1, and Hilal will go to the final.
Yeah, if I have to say an exact result, I think it will be 2-0 to Al-Hilal.
Okay.
That's the same for me because it's one of the best Hilal starting lineups.
No one really
quite
is
Ittihad.
missing. I mean, apart from Neymar, it's the standard starting lineup of Hilal or something very close to that. Obviously, taking into account that in the AFC Champions League they have to field a little bit more domestic players, so it's basically it's the best possible lineup, and the lineup with which they played the entire season or something very close to that. So, yeah.
And what if they go through against Ittihad? How do you see their chances against Al-Ain?
First of all, before Julia will answer that, don't forget that this question might be irrelevant because as our predictions were a draw and to Al-Hilal win, probably Al-Ittihad will win this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may
but
be.
Okay, to remain with the reality, if Al-Hilal goes through, what happens against Al-Ain, Julia? What's your expectation there?
Currently, you know my opinion that
Yeah.
Al-Hilal is the best team in the world, well organized. I expect them to be in the final of the Champions League.
It's good that we discussed before this podcast that now we will not praise Al-Hilal because we do that every time.
Yeah.
That, ultimately, we couldn't avoid that, it seems. But yeah, I agree with you, and I
Just,
also.
if you don't agree with me, name a team in the world which is currently in better form than Al-Hilal and has better players.
Mezőkövesd in Hungary is currently in a pretty good shape. No, it's not.
Okay, so we can move to the next topic, I think.
Yeah, no. The next topic is that just going back to the match, but no, Julia. Just I wanted to answer also, just to be fair. Okay, Mark's question that I believe Al-Hilal will easily beat Al-Ain in this Western final match. And then here I will not make any different opinion. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And
basically the main difference between Al-Nassr and Al-Hilal is the defense. And now
Al-Hilal will never concede that many goals, that's for sure. But they will most probably score. Yeah.
Still, I don't expect an easy match because Al-Ain will perfectly know this. So they will probably
they are a solid team, so they proved that. So I mean, I have to appreciate that, and so it's not like they did not deserve it. On the other hand, I have to mention your favorite statistical figure, the expected goals figures. It's very interesting that Al-Nassr produced 3 times more expected goals than Al-Ain. Obviously, this did not match the reality, but Al-Nassr had almost exactly 4 expected goals, while Al-Ain had only 1.3, and they scored 3 times, so basically 3 times goals compared to the expected goals. And I believe that for these figures, the reason is totally different, because we can agree that these 7 goals, out of these 7 goals, 6 goals were at some level the goalkeeper's mistakes. And
or the defender's mistake who made the
yeah,
penalty.
but yes, indeed. But if you think about it, so what happened with Al-Ain? They did not have a high amount of expected goals, only 1.3. So they even scored 3 goals. That means that unfortunately our defense, or in this case the goalkeeper, didn't had the best time of their life. That's obvious to say. In the case of Al-Nassr, it's very interesting because they scored exactly the same as their expected goals, right? Because it's 4 and 4. But if you look at what happened on the match, they did not score those opportunities where the expected goal was high. Think about the chances of Ronaldo or Otavio. Those were the ones which produced the expected goals. But they scored from opportunities and from shots where the expected goals were very low, thanks to Al-Ain's goalkeeper. For example, with one of the goals, no, 2 goals, sorry, because that free kick was also his mistake, and Otavio's power crossing was also bounced into the goal from the knees of the goalkeeper. So yeah, it's very interesting that at the end of the day, this got even, but they could not capitalize on the great chances. And on the other hand, they got some, let's say, lucky goals.
Basically, it's good you mentioned this, because this is exactly what I wanted to jump back to, that if Al-Hilal goes through and faces Al-Ain, it will be a totally different match, because Al-Hilal is not scoring as much goals as Al-Nassr. Don't get me wrong, they scored a lot of goals, but Al-Nassr is at a different level in this term. So I think in scoring goals, Al-Nassr is the best in the league. We can, I think, safely say that based on stats. But the difference is that the Hilal is a different team in this respect, and the main strength is the solidity of their defense. So Al-Ain will have to prepare differently for this match, and I expect a totally different match. And I don't want to say that it will be an easy match either. I expect a very difficult matchup.
But to be fair, Al-Hilal scored 5 times more in the league than Al-Nassr. But it's true that the two of these teams are very much ahead of the rest of the teams, because they scored 70 goals and 65. So, and the next is Al-Ahly with 49.
Yeah,
so,
probably my memory is overshadowed by the recent goal perhaps of Al-Nassr.
Yeah.
But then I think, sorry.
If you mentioned Al-Ahly, maybe we should move to the RSL.
Yeah, this is just what I wanted to suggest, that let's move to the Russian Saudi League. Russian Saudi League. And I think the idea of talking about Al-Ahly is a really great idea, because they deserve this.
Yeah, they won again, this time against Altavun. So I would say that the question of the 3rd place is decided by this, maybe, because now they are 7 points ahead of Al-Ittihad and 8 points ahead of Altavun.
You want to say that the question of the top 3 is decided, basically?
Yeah.
Not the 3rd place.
Yeah, not the 3rd place, because I think Al-Ahly could be the 2nd at the end of this season, because in the next round they will play against Al-Nassr, I think at home in Jeddah, where they are pretty dangerous. We saw Al-Nassr's form in the recent matches. I'm not sure whether they can take on Al-Ahly. So if Al-Ahly wins, there will be only 3 points between them. And if Al-Nassr continues its bad run, maybe they can lose their 2nd place as well.
Well, from Al-Ahly's perspective, this is probably the best time to meet Al-Nassr, isn't it? They are tired after a very difficult, both physically and mentally difficult match. Probably a little bit down after the departure from the Champions League, and they might have a difficult time bouncing back for such a big fixture. But they are professional players, so
sometimes
based on our current predictions and our past predictions, I think every listener would be wise to bet their house on Al-Nassr's victory because we predicted Al-Ahly's revival, which is probably not going to happen
No,
because we predicted it.
Yeah, I do not. I believe that this would be a bounce back for Al-Nassr this match.
Okay,
Talisca will be absent for the rest of the season, if I understood correctly. So that's a big blow.
Yeah, but also Al-Ahly, if they want something, they must win this match if they want the second place. A draw is not enough. If you look at the fixture, Al-Ahly's fixtures are much more difficult than Al-Nassr's. They will play after this match with Ettifaq, then with Ittihad, then with Vector, then with Hilal, and they will also play them with Damak, with Shabab. While Al-Nassr seems to be lighter, but yeah, I know what you will want to say. So the previous two matches were also quite
of course
easy on paper, but yeah, still based on the reality, Al-Ahly's fixture seems much more difficult.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Shabab could be a difficult opponent, but as we can see, their recent form, they are not, and also they can be taken into account during the battle of the relegation zone, maybe, because they are near to that now, only 4 points from Altai. I don't know. What do you think? Is this possible that Shabab will play in the Yellow League last year?
I don't think so. But
I don't think so.
But the fact that you mentioned it, I think they will take the match serious. On the other hand, by the time Al-Ahly is playing Al-Hilal, Al-Hilal might be already a champion and play lightly or with second tier team or whatever. So maybe that will not be a more difficult match for this reason.
I don't think that you can say that. I mean, if Al-Hilal, even if playing at a 50%, they could be a great match to everyone. Unfortunately for Al-Nassr fans.
Yeah, and maybe we should go back to the relegation battle, as I mentioned in connection with Shabab. So Arad just beat Al-Nassr, just like Hazem. And now there will be another derby, or I would call it as a derby, between Al-Shabab and Hazem, because the whole relegation battle could be much more interesting if Hazem could beat Al-Shabab, because it would be much tighter. At least, 7 teams in 7 points in that case. But to be honest, I don't believe in such miracles that Hazem could still play in this league next year, because now it's 8 points from the 15th place, and they have a really tough fixture for the rest of the season.
If you just look at the goal difference of the last teams, I don't think that Al-Shabab is in danger. Their defense is much more solid than the last five's defense. And even Arad's defense is much more solid than the last five's defense. So I think
that's true.
I think it will go down to the wire between Ogdud Riyad, Tai, Abha, and Hassan. We obviously hope that Abha will survive, but it doesn't look likely at this stage, unfortunately. But I don't think that Shabab is in danger. But again, we can be proven wrong.
I don't think that either. But you also have to consider that, for example, Carrasco is currently out for injury. We don't know when he gets back right, and also Rakitic was substituted at the end of the first half, the last match. Probably he's also out due to an injury. Question obviously how long. So these are basically the 2 best players. What we are talking about for Al-Shabab, which not increase their odds. But even with this, I just cannot imagine that they would be involved in the relegation battle.
Okay, and what about our favorite Abha? They will play against Vecta next round. Against a horrible Vecta, to be honest. Only 2 points in their last 5 matches. Is there any chance that they can win that?
Vegda, I mean, on paper seems horrible. I will just make a quick statement, Jula, and then you can tell. Vegda on paper looks horrible, but whenever I said what they did on the pitch, they weren't that terrible. And if you look at that, the last results are against Damak. They lost with 1-0, but also with one man behind because they got a red card. They played a draw with Tawun. They almost beat Ittihad, don't forget, and Ittihad turned the match around, the injury time basically, and on the home ground they have what we can call a blank performance, is that they couldn't beat Altai.
Yeah, I can't really add too much to that. You summarized it very well. Vegda is a difficult team. They do not lose by much, and you perfectly summarized this. So the advantage of Abha is that probably two things. One is that they will play at home. It's obviously an advantage in any event. And the second one is probably it's a good time to face this Vegda team, because even if they lose points narrowly, this could hit the players mentally. So they might not be so confident against Abha, and Abha could capitalize on this. But on the other hand, why would Abha be confident after their recent defeat? So,
yeah. But this is something that Abha will need to win if they want. I mean, if you look at their matches, they are still playing with much stronger teams on paper, and this is one match, especially because it's on home ground, they can win. And if they don't win, then they will be in an even worse situation. So that's why I think that it will be a draw. That's my expectation for that.
You mentioned that Carrasco is out. Do we know how serious is his injury, or it's just a light one?
I believe it's not yet confirmed.
I'm just asking because, okay, now there's a match against Hazam, but after that we have a 2 weeks long break because of the international match or the national teams matches. Maybe he can play in the next round after that against Al-Hilal.
I mean, probably it's as far as I know, it's a hamstring injury, and it depends really on how much it is injured. So it's not like it's a fixed 3 weeks, for example. Hamstring injuries can start from 1 or 2 weeks until even 2 months. So we hope the best for him, but I don't have official confirmation at the moment.
I haven't found anything more precise either, so we will see. Yeah, but this break could benefit a lot of teams. Probably Al-Nassr is in dire need of a little bit of a
yes, that would be
a rest.
Good. It would be good to catch some air. Yeah.
We discussed that the schedule of the Saudi League fixtures are much tighter than the European ones, while English clubs keep moaning that they have to play a lot of matches. But imagine poor Al-Nassr who played extra times and penalties in the Champions League in a one of the best matches of the year, and then they immediately have to go and play Al-Ahly in a prestige match, which
Another
could decide
team, yes.
which could decide the second and third place of the league. Maybe that's a bit of an overstatement, but it's a very important fixture nonetheless.
There is no time to moan in the Russian Saudi League, basically, and this is about football and not about making excuses.
And not about stupid referees, fortunately.
Yeah, but I just checked the fixtures, and there won't be much longer breaks after this 2 weeks one, because after that there will be only 3 or 4 days between every game week. So that will be a tough one for the last, I don't know, 1.5, 2 months for the whole of the league, and not only for Al-Nassr.
Yes, especially for those teams who are still interested in the Kings Cup, for example, for which we not yet know the draw. Yeah.
And the Super Cup is also coming. So good news,
Yes.
we will have a lot of great matches and
That's for sure.
a lot to cover. Okay, we talked a lot about both the Champions League and the league. Do you have anything else to express, or we can close this one, because I think we had a great discussion here about a lot of topics. Obviously, we all could talk a lot more about this lovely league, but I think it's time to stop for today and give a chance for us to talk about a lot of interesting things next time as well.
Yeah,
So-
nothing from my side, Julian.
No, yeah, we can conclude this session.
All right, then thank you guys for being here, and also thank you to our listeners for following us, and I hope you enjoyed this episode too. Please keep following us. We are trying to create more and more content and be available on more and more platforms. Yeah, it was a very, very eventful period, both for the Saudi teams and for us, but we don't stop. We keep on moving, and we hope that you will join us in the forthcoming episodes too. See you soon. Cheers.